Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna put y'all in my business a lot. I normally don't put y'all in my business often because I just kind of feel like it's most often never your business, but I do feel like it's important to share certain experiences because I feel like although I have had discussions with a lot of different people about their experience, it was still a lot that like I felt like I experienced and other people didn't, or maybe they didn't feel the same way that I did. And you know, now that I am a mom, I just feel like everybody's experience is valid. Everybody's experience can be different, and there may be some factor or point in my experience that you might resonate with you. I'm sorry. And so I just feel compelled to share it. And then additionally, there is an Instagram page of one of my college schoolmates, and she shared her story, and I was going back and forth about sharing it because I didn't know if that was like too invasive. However, but seeing her story was confirmation for me. So I want to start off by saying I had a very healthy pregnancy. I didn't have any complications. I didn't have any indicators of issues. There was nothing that was going on that could have prepared me for birth. And just to be clear, like, I didn't have a bad birth or a dangerous birth or unsafe birth or problematic birth. It just was not the birth that I actually wanted. So pretty much we'll start with when I started to get around 36, 37 weeks, my weekly doctor appointments. You know, my doctor was just pretty much always reiterating the fact that, like, if I would like to be induced, we could schedule something. My due date was actually December 26th, so that was additionally the other reason, if I wanted to be able to control the circumstances around when this little baby came or not. And I understand that. I don't have a problem with that, but I was very clear with her that, like, I wanted it to happen naturally. I didn't want to cause any level of induction. I wasn't interested unless it was medically necessary, which once I would have made it to 40 weeks, then we would have had to have a different conversation. All right, so it's week 39 and let's see, 2 days. And I have a normal doctor's appointment. It is December 21st, and we go to that appointment. I had not had my cervix checked, and I did not get the membrane sweep yet. I actually was, this gonna sound real vain, but I was waiting on December 16th to get my hair done. So I had gotten a fresh wash, fresh retie. I was crispy and ready to meet my little girl. I had taken my nails off. I was able to kind of, like, you know, tidy up the last few things. Additionally, like, not because I thought she was coming this early, but my mother had already arrived for Christmas as well, just because she wanted to come that early, not necessarily because I was predicting anything. She literally got in the night before that appointment. So we go to the appointment, I get my cervix checked, and I don't remember, maybe like 30-40% effaced, 1 centimeter dilated, not a whole lot going on. And she did let me know that, you know, this is my first time moms normally don't have a lot of dilation and activity going on. A lot of the time it is around the due date, and sometimes maybe even a little bit later, or they need something to jump start it. So I will say that, note to self, don't get the cervix check and the membrane sweep in the same day. It was not the worst thing I'd ever had, but it was not amazing either. I was uncomfortable from the moment that I got that. I was uncomfortable. It feels like the aftermath of it, it feels like these very mild cramps. It's like a dull pain, but it's constant. It doesn't go away. And I was just really uncomfortable. Sitting down was even more uncomfortable. I felt like sitting down made the cramps more dominant. It made me more aware of them. So then I ended up, like, laying down. I believe I laid around for the rest of the day. Like, I literally didn't do too much of anything. My mom was here. We went to bed kind of late that day. I think we might have gone to bed like 11:30, 12 o'clock, something like that. I was just uncomfortable. Nothing else really going on. Like, I didn't necessarily feel like I had like contractions, but I'm a first time mom, so do I really know what contractions are? No. Okay, whatever. So we move along. I get up at about 2:15 ish to for the normal bathroom break, right in the middle of my sleep. So I go use the bathroom, I get back in the bed, I'm kind of awake, so I'm scrolling on TikTok a little bit, and then I get this sudden urge to use the bathroom again, or I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. And you know, I have seen things where like women say they're like unable to control like using the bathroom, and so I felt like I had to tinkle again. And I know that some women say, unfortunately, they think their water breaks and they tinkled on themselves. So I'm thinking that I'm about to tinkle on myself, so let me hurry up and get up because I'm too grown to be wet in the bed. I get to the bathroom in time, but I immediately realize this is not urine and this is something else. It is warm, it is thick, it is not urine. Okay, so I'm calm about it. I walk back into the bedroom and I say to my husband, I think my water broke just now. And he was like, okay, well, let's go. And I'm like, well, hold on, because I don't necessarily have like contractions or anything else. So let me call a triage number to make sure like that's like the right thing to do, because it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to go sit in the hospital for a couple hours for them to send me home. Like, when I go to the hospital, I was always clear about that. When I go to the hospital, I absolutely positively want to stay. I want to be admitted, and I want it to be confirmed that I'm in labor. We are going to the hospital at the last minute is my thought process. So I call the triage number, and pretty much she asked me a few questions. And she confirms more than likely my water broke and it's time for us to head on to the hospital, whatever. So I'm like, okay, because I just felt like disgusting after that whole experience. I took like a 3-minute shower. Yes, I did. It's fine. I took a 3-minute shower. And this is still December 21st, but it's that night, so technically it's December 22nd. So I go let my mom know, hey, we're about to go to the hospital, my water broke. And we go to the hospital. We get there, there is like literally nobody there in triage, and so very quickly they're able to confirm, yes, my water broke, yes, technically I'm having contractions, I just don't feel them. You know, they set up the IVs, they do all that thing, and they're like, okay, we'll just play the waiting game. So when I got there, one doctor was there, but she was getting ready to leave. Unfortunately, my doctor was not on call that day, so she unfortunately did not birth my baby. I'm over it now, but I kind of went into it knowing that. Thankfully, I did meet her one day, and coincidentally, I didn't really care for her, which was interesting, but whatever. So most of the day, literally, I like laid around. They did come at a certain point because they said that my contractions weren't moving fast enough organically, so of course they didn't allow for like medication initially. They just wanted my body to organically do its thing. And then somewhere in the middle of the day, they came and they gave me Pitocin to speed things up because it was pretty much too long. Additionally, I did test positive for group B strep, and so you know you have to have antibiotics throughout the entire labor. Additionally, because my water broke, they are very concerned about risks of infection, and so because my water broke, the timeline is one that we didn't have a whole lot of freedom. Had my water not broke, then they wouldn't have to give me Pitocin, blah blah blah. So I get that it's moving along a little bit, and so of course Pitocin speeds up your contractions, and so after a while you start to get pain. Well, the key thing with epidural is that you have to time it right, because if they have surgery, if they have other things going on, then you are pretty much uncomfortable, in pain, and you have to wait. And so I didn't want to wait too long, but the contractions were like, I could start to feel them in my butt, and they were just uncomfortable, and they were going from a place of this is really uncomfortable, I can feel it. And so to me, it wasn't necessarily the pain of the contractions, it was the length of them. They were long. And I guess going from like not even knowing that I'm having a contraction to having them, very uncomfortable. So then, you know, maybe about like mid-afternoon, maybe like 3:30, 4 o'clock, I get an epidural. And from there, now I do want to say there are a lot of things that people don't say about actually getting an epidural. Like a lot of the times you hear people say it hurt, or you hear people say I got the epidural, I didn't feel anything, it was cool. For me, I had a difficult time with them even administering the epidural. She was telling me to like roll my back. It's very hard to do when you got a belly. You have to be still. And so I remember her saying something like, if I feel like stinging and burning, then something is not right. And so I definitely felt that on one side. And so she had to like take it out and do it again. Oh my God, that was so uncomfortable. And so of course, once you get that, you can't move. They asked me if I wanted a catheter. I was completely against the catheter. So they have like the other option that they can like come into your bladder. Okay, cool, let's do that whenever it's necessary. Additionally, it was like almost immediate. So they gave it to me, I'm laying there. I had already asked for like ginger ale. Of course, they're not giving me any food or anything like that. I drank the ginger ale and literally instantly I got nauseous. Like I thought I was about to throw up. And so initially I'm like, maybe this ginger ale tastes nasty because they ain't got no sugar in it. And then I remember saying, excuse me, ma'am, I feel like I'm about to throw up. Can you give me something? And so what they didn't mention was that the baby was very unhappy. My blood pressure was dropping, and that was the immediate reaction to my body. And please hold, because my battery is dying. So pretty much after I got my epidural, I got nauseous, and it was because my blood pressure was dropping. The baby did not like it, and apparently that was my body's reaction to my blood pressure dropping so rapidly that I was getting nauseous. So they immediately gave me like an alcohol swab. Apparently when you're nauseous, alcohol, the smell of alcohol can kind of like kill your nauseated feeling. And additionally, I had to lay on my side because it was pretty much like they had to figure out how me laying, because of course, like when you initially get the epidural, after you get it, you have to lay flat, because if you lay to the left or to the right, the medication will settle more on one side or the other. Okay, whatever. So I'm laying on my back. The baby doesn't like that, so I have to lay on my side. And so every so often I had to like change to the other side, you know, all the machines beeping, whatever. So at this point I'm really over it, because I'm like, there is no way there is no way that I felt that awful that quickly after getting that. So that kind of scared me a little bit. Thankfully, of course, you know, no blood pressure issues, no, my other levels were fine outside of my blood pressure dropping. Like even though I was like very anxious after that, I didn't have the issue of like high blood pressure or anything like that. So pretty much, you know, we're going. The doctor comes in, she checks me a few times. We didn't do a whole lot of cervix checks because, again, I tested positive for group B strep. Anytime they go in to check, this increases my chances for infection. So completely understand that. She had some C-sections that she had scheduled, and then that would probably be happening, and so she went to handle those, and she came back around 10 or so. They checked my cervix. I'm 10 centimeters dilated. We are ready to push. All right, I'm thinking we're gonna have a baby today, December 22nd. Psych my mind. Well, kinda, but no. So I literally pushed for 3 hours. 3 hours. In the process of me pushing, the doctor comes in and she's like, you're making like really good progress, like you're pushing really well, you're doing really well. She comes in one last time and she's like, look, I have to go do a C-section. I'll be back, but here's a doctor, here's like a nurse for the baby, because I think that you'll have this baby by the time I have this C-section surgery. Like I may not make it back in time. She goes and she completes that C-section. She comes back. I don't even know how long it's been, and at that time she's like, look, we're at the point where you're probably not going to be able to push this baby out and you're going to require C-section. 3 hours is a long time to push. And then she's like, 4 hours is the max. And I was like, well, let's push for another hour. I did not want a C-section. I did not want a C-section. Jessica, did not want a C-section. And let me be transparent and say, outside of getting my wisdom teeth pulled about like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago at this point, I've never had real surgery in my life. The first time I had like anesthesia was getting my wisdom teeth pulled. I am not one of those people. That's not my life. That's not how I live my life either. Like surgeries, I don't even like the hospital either. So this entire experience was already a little traumatizing for me to begin with. I pushed for the additional hour, didn't make the progress that was necessary, and so I had to have a C-section. I started crying when she said it because that's not what I wanted. And you know what I can say about the doctor, and I appreciate it, and I'm grateful for that experience, at least from that end. She was very human like. She did not make this like a transactional experience for me. You know, she kind of said, talk to me about like how you're feeling, like why are you upset right now, like why are you frustrated, like are you, and you know, she kind of just talks through some things. I let her know like I'm afraid, I don't want to get cut, I don't want surgery, I know that the recovery is going to be hard. How am I supposed to take care of my child when I'm in pain? Additionally, there were some things in my birth plan that I didn't want to do. Like I didn't want Pitocin at all, but by that time I didn't have a choice, just for like health reasons. I didn't want a C-section at this time. I don't have a choice. And so, you know, I was very vocal about, I do feel like I don't have the options that I wanted to have. I don't feel like you're coercing me into anything. I'm making a sound decision and telling you to go ahead with the C-section, but I don't really feel like if there's another option, like if I say no to the C-section, what other option do I have? Because medically you don't even agree with like me pushing anymore or anything like that. And so they also additionally, I don't know if everybody's hospital does this, but like they asked me if I had a playlist that I wanted them to play, if I have a favorite singer, songwriter, artist, whatever that they could play, you know, that kind of thing. I'm like, I got my own music. I will say in my last hour of pushing, they actually switched out the nurses. So I had one nurse that was pushing with me for like 3 hours, and then this other girl, she was a black girl, she was so sweet, and she came in there, and I do feel like she was motivating, and she was like putting me in the right position to like be great, but I think timing was wrong. Like I wish she would have came in there at hour 2. I feel like maybe I could have pushed the baby out, but what I find out on the back end about this is where I kind of feel like I don't think it matters who was in there kind of coaching me through pushing. I don't think it would have made a difference. Additionally, I thought doctors were in there when you were pushing. They're not. It's the nurse. That's kind of scary to me, that it's possible that I could have this baby and it's not a doctor in here, but I digress. So I am crying. I am upset. Okay, I am very upset. And you know, my husband was just erring on the side of, they're saying this is what you need to do for it to be safe for you and baby, like this is what we just have to do. And so I wasn't trying to hear that either. So here we are. They call an anesthesia person in there to give me more of the epidural spinal block, whatever it is. I'm crying. They wheel me down the hallway, and not that I feel like I'm about to cry right now. We are not crying on YouTube. They wheel me down the hall because this is like a maternity ward, so we're not going super far. Of course I can't feel anything. Spinal tap works really well. They slide me from the other table, from the bed to the table, the surgical table. Now, what I want to also mention is that for somebody that's never had surgery, to be awake and experience this, I think that's what was much more traumatizing. Additionally, like while you're in there, there are so many people in there, first of all, and you can't see what's going on. And I think the hardest part about that surgery is being awake, to be completely honest. being awake is the hardest part. Additionally, when they roll you in there, your spouse is not with you. They leave him in the room and he's given all these different directions on what he's to do. And so you are alone with these strangers in this room. And once they do certain things, then they allow him to come in the room. I am just laying there and I am like looking at the ceiling, and I'm just like, you can imagine all the thoughts that were running through my head just in relation to like, I can't believe that I'm being forced into this. I am horrified. I don't want to do this. I want to go home. Like, I literally remember crying and saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I quit. Like, I just, something else. So, you know, my husband comes into the room, but then I realized this is still very uncomfortable for me. Now, my doctor did talk through everything that she was doing. So I guess like I knew what was going on, but I couldn't see anything. Vividly, I remember like during pushing and at that moment as well, I got very cold. And so if you're on TikTok, if you're on the pregnancy side of TikTok or labor and delivery side of TikTok, you may have seen videos where they say like during labor or birth or after birth or during the pushing process, you can start to shake and be really cold. And so I remember being really cold while pushing. Literally, y'all, I would push and then I would fall asleep in between pushing. I had been up for about 24 hours with a little bit of sleep in between, but like I literally was pushing, and then when I was done pushing, once we did a round of pushing, I went to sleep every time and then woke back up. At the moment that they slide me on the surgical table, I am freezing. There is a man that's standing by my head. Other people have confirmed that he probably was the anesthesiologist looking at my levels or something like that, just to make sure everything was fine. I say to him, sir, I am freezing. Can y'all turn on the heat? And so they had like heated blankets. So they gave me those. Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. That made it a little bit better. You know, you're laying on the table like that. You can't move. Well, I guess you can move your arms, but you can't move like other stuff. They put these, it's like weighted warm towels on me or whatever. And so I'm just laying there. And so they say that they're like cleaning the skin. And then after that, they say they're like cutting things open. And so for me, I know I've seen a lot of different things where some people say like C-section babies don't cry. For a minute it's like silent, but it's almost like I heard my baby crying before they actually moved her. Additionally, the doctor said he's healthy and it's a girl. And so when she said he, I said he, it's supposed to be a she. And so I'm thinking in my head, and she's like, I'm sorry, it's a girl, it's a girl. My husband, and so for us, we also did not get to like get the baby immediately because you know, I don't know if you guys know this, but the baby actually can poop in the womb. They don't want them to. They technically want them to wait until after they're born, but sometimes they do. And if it's only a little bit, then it's not an issue, but they don't really know how much until the baby's born. That was another reason why they felt like I didn't need to push anymore. I needed to have a C-section, because they don't want the baby to ingest or inhale the meconium, and they have to suction it out. So they needed to confirm how much of that she may have ingested or inhaled, and it looked like she didn't ingest or inhale any of it. But technically speaking, like, we hear her crying after they like pulled her out, and then they take her to measure her and do all these different things with her. Her dad gets to see her first, which I am technically in my feelings about that kind of stuff, because like I wanted skin to skin immediately after my baby was born. I didn't get to get that. It's fine, she's completely fine, no issues, whatever, but that just was like one of those things that I felt really strongly about. You know, they're over there doing whatever they're doing with the baby, and my husband is over there, and then he comes with her swaddled. And you know, I get to see her for like a second, and then they leave the room. They don't stay in the room. So then I'm just laying here and I'm looking at the ceiling, and like the doctor is like sewing me back up. And so it takes so long. It takes like 30 minutes or something like that for them to do everything after the birth. And then even like while I'm laying here like trying to figure out like does my baby have 5 fingers and 5 toes on each hand? What does she look like? Is she okay? Like I can hear them saying that like certain things are fine, but like just to physically be able to put my eyes on her, that's a different thing. And so, you know, I'm in my feelings about that a little bit, and I'm just laying there. So at one point I look at the anesthesiologist and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, why is this taking so long? And then finally they're finished, and they roll me, well, they slide me back to the bed, they roll me out, and they roll me to where my husband and my baby is. And so then they're like, okay, so you need to do skin to skin with her because she's cold, and they couldn't get her to warm up. Well, I mean, she was on a warmer, the heater thing. And so they wanted her to have like that level of natural body heat. So I had to do skin to skin, which I was very happy about. And so of course I'm rolling down the hallway with my baby once they get us a room. And that's my birth story. What I will say is like being in that room to get that C-section is probably the most alone I ever felt with a million people in the room. Because it's like everybody else knows what's going on except for you. And you just don't imagine your birth going like that. Not being able to have the skin to skin immediately following birth was an issue for me. Not being able to like immediately see my baby was the issue for me. I could hear her but I couldn't see her. That was problematic for me. And I think that has a lot to do with why like I don't want to. I had a hard time like mentally processing having to share her, because I just felt like I went through so much. I shouldn't have to share her with anybody, not even her daddy. And you know, in general, I think that like having a C-section when you didn't want to, having a C-section when it wasn't planned, is one of those things that will probably alter you for a long time, because it's like you have this beautiful expectation of my body is capable of birthing this child. And I'm not saying that my body didn't do what was right or what was necessary, because my body grew this baby and gave this baby everything she needed for 9 months. And so I have to be, you know, I have to be aware of the fact that like I'm capable of doing that much. And so how she gets here doesn't necessarily make me more or less of a mom, which I do understand. But I think like to a certain degree, like in that moment I was mad with my body, because why can't you push this baby out? I was mad with her for a little bit, because I'm like in that moment, not like I'm not mad at my baby now, but like in that moment, like why you just can't come out. I was mad with the nurse, because I felt like maybe if they had put the black nurse in there, then I could have pushed her out. Or I even feel like maybe they checked me too late in relation to being dilated and blah blah blah. And so ultimately we found out that apparently I have a narrow pelvic area, and so because of that, like it probably would have been difficult for me to birth her the natural way regardless. And actually the doctor even said like if you intend to have kids again, I would highly suggest and almost confirm that you're going to have a C-section again. Like you probably won't ever be able to have a vaginal birth. Wow. Okay. So obviously that's a lot to take in. And then, you know, let's talk about recovery, because initially following a C-section, like, you know, you can't get up or do anything for like 12 hours. And then after that, they want you to get up and go to the bathroom. Additionally, I had the catheter for like longer than I think they would like for people to have. It was something about the catheter or whatever. And so I think I went to the bathroom at hour 11, I believe. Well, so because I had the catheter, I couldn't really tell if I had to use the bathroom. That was the real issue. And so pretty much we go through this phase of, it's at hour 11. The nurse was like, if you feel like you can go walk, then come on, let's walk. So we get up, we walk, I go to the bathroom. And then now we run into the issue of I have blood in my urine, which, you know, they watched and made sure everything was fine with that, and it was, and so that worked itself out. Very uncomfortable though. The pain was very uncomfortable, and initially I like wasn't even taking like the stronger version of Oxy. I had the weaker version, and then I started to realize like, hey, stuff is wearing off. This hurts every time I get up. Every time I feel like I move, I feel like I'm stuck in one spot. I was so uncomfortable, and it was just so frustrating because it's like I'm learning to breastfeed my baby, I'm learning to care for my baby, and I am so uncomfortable. Leaving the hospital is when I really realized like, oh, this is real. Like riding in a car, being at home. My first night I tried to get into bed. Nobody told me how to get into bed, how to get out the bed, how to do any of that stuff. I was so uncomfortable. I just felt like I was going to split apart. I am actually still sleeping in a recliner, and I am on week 5. I think I probably can lay down. I just think it's a matter of like, I don't really know how to get up, and that hurts. And yeah, but I am gonna like try to start sleeping in the bed because I do miss laying down. Like I have not laid down since I had my baby. Outside of that, it's just, you know, the process of like not being able to do certain things, but then being required to feed and care for my baby is insane to me. Not being able to drive for 6 weeks is really wild, and I hate that for me, but I am nearing the end of that portion of this, and I am so excited about the fact that like I can get a little bit of my freedom back. I mean, quite naturally, where am I going? Because if I go anywhere, I have to pack that baby up and take her with me. And that actually sounds even more horrific because I feel like, what if she starts screaming and we have another 10 minutes? I don't know, whatever it is. That's my birth story. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know if it's really one of those things to enjoy, but what I will say is, if you have questions, if you are preparing for birth, if you had a similar birth story, share it in the comments below and let's talk about it. I'll see y'all next time.